Hello, everybody, and welcome to the next episode of Hot Takes. And we've got a special guest today. Nick's here. Welcome, Nick. How's it
Hello,
going?
hello. Happy to be here. Happy to finally be on one of these.
Happy to have you. And for those that watched last week, you would have seen that I was working on a joke to try and start off on a fun note. But the joke was about an Englishman, an Italian, and a Frenchman. I've been trying to work on it all week, and now Nick, you're here, and you've
Oh,
you've totally screwed it up. I'm back to square one. So again, I've not got a
well,
joke to start with.
just like MSI, NA is here to ruin everybody's plans. So,
Typical. And speaking of NA, and we'll just jump straight into our first topic then. At Masters Toronto, it's not been a good 24 hours for NA. Um, well, it's been a mixed 24 hours, I should say. If you're a Sentinels fan, it's not been a good 24 hours because they are out. G2 is still going strong, so there's still a chance. But I know you guys don't all kind of watch or cover Valorant that much, so I'll keep it short. But at the very least, I just wanted to kind of highlight the coverage that we have on Hotspawn, mainly to big myself up because I've been going like an absolute madman the last couple of weeks, non-stop, including a couple of interviews that we just dropped today. When you're watching this, it would have been yesterday. That's worth checking out during the off day. Everyone's favourite, Boaster, had a chat with him as well. And he always seems to drop a couple of little nuggets. The last time I spoke to him, he was talking about wanting to be the best IGL of all time in Valorant. And then when I spoke to him last night, he's talking about like kind of hinting at maybe even being on the back end of his career, which probably isn't a huge surprise since he just turned 30 recently. Not that 30 is old. There's someone that's creeping up on it. But yeah, he had a good little nugget here. Just kind of asking him really where, with Fnatic, they had the legendary 2023 roster that won 2 global events. And basically, it's just ever since then, it's kind of this looming thing for them where as they change their roster or as they don't win so many tournaments, they're kind of always in comparison to that previous time. Sort of similar to like how T1 had their championships back in the day and then didn't win worlds for so many years. And it was kind of always expected like that's what you should be doing and you're always comparing back to it. It's not quite the same kind of length, but yeah, Fnatic kind of got a similar thing. And they're obviously in with a chance right now of winning a global event. Someone asked him about it. He said that he doesn't know how much longer he's got left. So he just hopes he can win another one. And kind of, especially now they've had the 1 or 2 down years, he's like being more appreciative of even just going to any of these events. Yeah, I just wanted to highlight that at the very least. Check out the coverage if you are a Valorant enjoyer. Otherwise,
Honestly, I think at least Boaster is fine. He'll be like a future idol or something
I mean,
later.
he's like insanely popular in like China and that as well. So,
Yeah, I just love the guy. I like the honestly his dance moves are like
oh my,
should
yeah.
kiss.
So one of the things at Toronto as well, and I've not seen this in League either or Valorant, but the stage. So it's kind of like it's not really a proper arena. It's like an events like convention area, like an exhibition center.
Hmm.
So they've got these seats that are like right up behind the players, where and Boaster kind of said it in the interview, like he's not even sure the fans are so close behind him, he doesn't understand like where they're even watching the game. Like they can't even be seeing a screen because they're right behind his seat basically. So what's happened is these kind of players that are the charismatic ones, they're like every time they win a round, they're like a lot of the time in Valorant, like the players will stand up and they'll shout across the stage at the other team. But now the players are standing up, turning around and doing shit with the crowd and yeah, boasters like twerking to the crowd between rounds and all sorts. So it's an interesting dynamic that's added to it. And then there's a couple of players like that that are kind of like thriving off of it as well, like Boaster. There's a player for Wolves Esports, Sufat BB, who's kind of come out as like a new superstar in Valorant now that everyone loves, and they're on this amazing run. So yeah, just in
I
all.
mean, Kang used to do it last year as well. Like I feel like some of the main difference is like a lot of Valorant players actually get better. Like their form actually improves on stage
Yeah,
rather than probably scrims just because of the adrenaline and all the thing going on.
it was an interesting thing. I was thinking as I've been watching the players do that is literally comparing it to League and just thinking on like the different type of personalities. Like obviously there's League's got a million players. There's still like lots of variation, But in Valorant, it seems like there's so many more of these like really charismatic, like confident players that will shout across the stage and all sorts like that, which we don't really get in League. I know it's different because in Valorant you have the rounds where there is a
Yeah.
downtime. It's easy to do that. But I remember like the only time I can even really think of it, I remember like Dyrus doing, like getting caught on camera, like in the webcam, you could like lip read him like shouting something to like.
I mean, the
at
last
the
one,
other
the,
top
la-
laner.
the last one I remember is Calist shouting, "Remember my name"
Oh,
after
yeah.
the game. But yeah, the other one, like the ones who actually do that a lot are the Brazilian. Like the Brazilian are really
Sure.
good at trash talking and like shouting even during the game. I think I don't know if it's the mid laner or the jungler, but I think Furia. There is a player in Furia that did it a lot during playoffs. And yeah, even last year we remember that guy who had the tattoo with butt diff on his biceps. I remember that too. That was fun. But yeah, the Brazilian are very on that, like on trash talk and those those type of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see some LCK players, like, Guma has his like hand through the hair, kind of like look at the camera moments. But I think what Boaster does is really, really cool because, and he's spoken about this, he's a theater kid. He was on stage doing musicals as a kid. He realizes that esports, while it's still a competition, is also a broadcast. There are people at home who like, and playing to the camera, breaking that fourth wall a little bit and making it so, you're not just watching the game's watching you back a little bit. I think that sort of stuff is fantastic. Like, the more of it, the better, in my opinion.
100%. And there was one moment like they interviewed him on the broadcast after they won yesterday, and they were like showing a few clips of him between rounds, and they were showing him in slow mo, and then it cut to one where he was literally just twerking in front of the camera in slow motion. Like you could see he was like kind of cringing at it, but I mean it's the personalities that make it. That's the classic thing of like the old LCS days when you had all these big people pulling the numbers as well. And I must say that's an impeccable transition by me because we can go ahead and now talk about the LTA North. And there's someone that doesn't
Yeah.
follow it that closely. So I saw it was Fly Cloud9 in the final. That doesn't seem like massively surprising.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was
It's
looking, I was
Liquid.
like, okay, so it must have been before that Team Liquid went out. And I'm looking, I was like, oh no, they went out to Shopify. Like what happened to Team Liquid?
So the real, and they've released a video on this a little bit, is Umty's performance began to wane, and with that, Umty's confidence in himself, and I think a lot of pretty considerable mental health issues cropped up, and he just wasn't performing. They looked completely disjointed. Umty would like run in for a play that nobody else is going in on. They just didn't look like the Team Liquid that people knew. And so right heading into playoffs, they tried to sub in this new rookie jungler, UG. He's really, really good. I think his debut was like really, really promising. But like a lot of rookie players who are subbed in this kind of situation, he had his work cut out for him, and he was not able to fix all the issues that Team Liquid had in time. But it is partially a story of Team Liquid was not the second strongest team in the league that a lot of people expected going in. They weren't able to keep up that performance that we've seen from them earlier on, especially during like the lane swap meta when they were pioneering a lot of this stuff. Shopify at the same time just managed to get astronomically better over the course of the split. And so when a Team Liquid that was on the downturn meets a Shopify that's on the way up, it turns out that Shopify takes that series. And I think that is more to credit to Shopify than it is like Team Liquid just imploding. But there certainly is a lot of context there with a jungle swap, a player seeming to take what will be like some sort of like extended hiatus from the game due to performance anxiety. And so Team Liquid just sort of wasn't the team that we expected going into the split, and in their place, other teams sort of managed to improve in form enough to knock them out.
And is there any like rumors about what's next for the jungle? Because in Team Liquid, because I guess UG will stay or maybe will be benched.
They haven't announced exactly what will happen. They've released a video that's Umty leaving Team Liquid. He's going to go back to Korea, and that's the one where sort of Spawn and Umty and the Team Liquid talk about this to a much deeper extent. But it was getting to the point where I think Spawn had a comment, which was like, if Umty was his son, he'd be packing up his room. And so shouts out to the Team Liquid staff for looking after their player. But right now, it's a little bit unclear. I hope they stick with UG. I think he's a really aggressive jungler with good fundamentals who just came in super late in the split. and was sort of thrown into the fire and not given a chance to get that setup, get that cohesion with the team. I hope they go with Yuji. But I know that during the season they were also trialing players for mid as well at the same time that they were like trialing Yuji to swap out Umpty. So we may see a move from APA. I'm not really sure. Haven't heard any rumors and don't really have my ear to the ground on that stuff right now. But nothing that I know of.
I think my main thing is like Yuji and UMT have very, very different playstyles, and like even the champions they play and how they act, or like what their role is as a jungler within the teams has been very, very different. And I think that obviously has caused like probably a worse settle in that sense for Yuji, because obviously TL used to work in a certain way with Eon and APA acting as carries, and then with Yuji coming in and Yuji's being someone who wants to play aggressive and wants to look for opportunities, it's like very different from how UMT used to play, which was for the team. So like that will be, I think, TL's biggest hurdle to sort out and fix by split 3. I think they still definitely have the potential to make it to Worlds if we consider what the potential. And obviously I've seen Yuji, some of his gameplay, and I think he's kind of like, I don't want to do a direct comparison, but it's very close to Skumon in that sense, in how I kind of view him at the current moment. Skumon needed a few months to find his ground on G2, and I think Yuji will need that as well. But
yeah, absolutely. I think in particular, like a lot of rookie junglers talk about this, and like every laner does. When you go to pro, it's a completely different game. Like tier 2 cannot prepare you for the level of precision and like planned out precise timings and interactions that pros have down. And so throwing Yuji in to what I think is actually like contextually a really strong split for NA. And then him having the difficulties that he did, and Team Liquid having the difficulties that they did, I think that's totally expected. Like I think we'd probably have seen this like week 1, week 2 if Yuji comes in at the start of the split, but instead we see it in playoffs. But yeah, I'm excited for where Team Liquid goes. I can totally see them at Worlds, but this split was definitely sort of a wake up call for the old roster.
And just I'm stepping aside a bit from our main topic, but there's another jungler from an ACL that is performing really well actually right now, and it's Yukino with KCB. And I'm talking about that because I think Los Ratones, as we talked, just qualified for the final, and maybe so they will maybe meet Yukino and KCB in the grand final to defend their title, and they just trioed Bikarok, so I'm very, very hyped about this. But yeah, I'm just stepping a bit out of it. But and yeah, to come back on the LTA North, actually there was that final that was like what a banger.
Oh yeah,
that ending.
And a classic banger. We it's a pact that we made with a bog witch, which is we can only contest Eastern teams if our final ends with the most scuffed backdoor you can imagine. Like we're not allowed to have 5 people just push and end, otherwise Genji beats us. And so they have sealed the blood pact with the bog witch, and we're going to 5 games against LCK. That's what we had to do. It is what it is.
Hope they'll win this time.
Yeah. But like on the real, it was that finals was a banger. And really the takeaway from the finals is how sad I am to not be sending C9 with FlyQuest to MSI. Both teams looked really, really good. And if I'm honest, I think C9 consistently looked like the more coordinated and better team. But as it often is with FlyQuest, they live or die by their creativity. They'll 20-minute Baron rush with Fiddlesticks and lose, or they'll double TP on your backdoor and win. And it's that asymmetrical thinking, that sort of non-standard play that won FlyQuest the match, and I think is a huge advantage in international play. But there's certainly a part of me that after the second finals of a weird backdoor from FlyQuest, I'm like, guys, can we have a convincing win? So like I don't feel so sketchy going into international play, but I am hopeful. I've got an article coming up about it, but I think this is probably the best roster and like the most competitive roster that NA has sent to an international event in a long, long time. Obviously their performance at Worlds was great, but I don't think me and many other NA fans, especially, it was sort of a FlyQuest upset in the finals, they managed to come to form and take the win. I wasn't expecting 5 games against Gen G, but this time certainly, like for the first time in a long time as an NA fan, if I see NA team versus LPL, NA team versus LCK, I think we've got a fighter's chance. I think we have a legitimate chance to take these games to 5, or take these teams to 5 and or beat them. So fingers crossed.
The problem is I feel like Genji is not the same as they were last Worlds.
True.
Hey, it doesn't matter if they're the same last Worlds as long as they're at the event. That's all we got to beat. We don't have to beat Gen G from last World, you know? We have to beat Gen G from now.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
Nick, you said it's a shame that Cloud9 aren't the second seed, couldn't go as second seed. Who is the second seed from NA?
There is no second seed from NA. It is from LTA Seoul. So we will be sending, I believe, Pain Gaming.
No, Furia.
Yeah.
Furia.
Sorry,
Furia,
Furia, not Pain. Yeah. Furia, not Pain. And yeah, so there is no second seed. I adore our brethren in the LTA Seoul. I think there are a lot of good games going on there. I just feel like maybe the consolidation of regions and the new format does lead to some feel bad moments when we have a finals like that that goes to a game 5 banger. You know, we have Sven flashing forward into the enemy ADC on Kalista to like save the game into a double TP backdoor, and then the other team is just gonna go away for about 2 months, and then we're gonna see them right back steady, like same playing field as always. Yeah, there's no representative. So
what are your thoughts on that, on the whole discourse, like after like the Travis video and all that, and would you change it back to LCS, even just the name?
Oh, I will write LTA North in every interview. I will write it in every article, and I will follow Riot's copy. I see absolutely no reason to throw out the name for a league that has been iconic for several years. And I'm not sure how many, are old heads like me, but I remember when EULCS was changed to LEC because they wanted to protect the LCS branding, because that was really important. It was iconic. It was old. It resonated with fans. And then they tossed it out for LTA North. I think there's something less catchy. Maybe it's because I'm used to LCS, but yeah, I don't get why they did it. I don't really see the benefit of calling it League of the Americas North over the LCS, especially when that name is, so iconic. But I will call it whatever it is called. But if next split I got to write the letters LCS, I'd be a little bit happy, just a little bit.
Yeah,
I slip up sometimes as well. Like I end up like sometimes say LCS.
Everybody does.
So natural, yeah.
Well, even
that's the thing. Like players, hosts, everybody still will be like LCS. I mean LTA North. LTA North.
Well, when LEC changed, like obviously it didn't have the issues like that the LTA has had, and because it wasn't like such a, obviously like, format wise, it wasn't like a massive overhaul or anything. But then people still called it EULCS for a while, or like there was definitely a transition period like that for sure.
I think my biggest concern is like you get such a banger series, but then no one watches it. It's like I can kind of understand the potential issue behind it, because obviously you had LCK in the morning, you had the big final in the morning, and then like me, for example, had to rewatch the series the morning after rather than staying up late until like 2. But the whole thing is like the grand final wasn't even the most watched series of the entire playoffs. That's really concerning for me. Just hopefully, I think that let's hope that by having FlyQuest in general and just the LTA in general doing better international will eventually kind of bring back some interest into the league, because at the current moment, like even average viewership is being lower than the LCP, even though like the LCP one has actually been skewed by the fact that you had the finals that were between the two biggest, the strongest team that was versus the most popular team in that sense. But the fact that the LCP is catching up is good for them, but like not good for LTA, of course.
I kind of felt like they just should have just gone more into the mix of the two leagues, because they're still like barely playing each other. I could understand it if it was way more of a combined thing, and then it's like it is something new and there's like something interesting, rather than it be like a mildly different version of what was there before, but we just changed the name
I think
for
they,
no
they
reason.
reverted the format, right? Because like I think at first it was like no BO3 at all, and they wanted to
Mhm.
change that. The commissioner wanted to change that, but like was it already like set in the stone that there wouldn't be a cross conference games and everything?
I think there was for this
Um,
point, right? Like
Not for
it was
split
already
2.
decided ages ago that it wouldn't be for this
Okay,
split.
Yeah.
right.
mhm.
Yeah,
They had it for
that's very
split
well.
1, but the
Yeah,
problem with like split 1 was like no LTL South team actually went past the LTA North teams, which then obviously raises concerns about the quality of the game for LTA South. I think that they will get better over time,
yeah.
but like that will be like the only way now to know whether actually LTA South is closing the gap is to wait until regional championship later this season. And I
I do.
honestly, sorry to interrupt you, but it's like
No, no, no.
honestly, I don't expect any LTA South team to make it to like the top 3.
Yeah, and that's sort of exactly what I was just thinking. Is like we saw cross conference play, and there are very very good players in the LTA Seoul. There are some really strong teams, but there is still a reality of there is an operational budget difference
Yep.
between a North American team and the LTA Seoul team, and it's millions of dollars. It's millions and millions of dollars in player support, in coaches, and none of this is to take away from the South American players. It's just that the cross conference event, and I've said this in an article, it looked like the NA team slapping around less well-funded teams with their wallet, right? They could buy better players, they could buy better orgs. Team Liquid had a facility in the city, and they were able to practice there while everybody else is practicing out of like hotel rooms without windows and stuff like that. And so, as much as I would love improved like cohesion between the two regions, and I do know actually between now and the start of Split 3, teams are being flown up from LTA Seoul to come scrim and boot camp in the LTA North studio and work with a bunch of the teams who aren't going to MSI, which I think is really great. That's exactly the sort of thing that I want to see. But at least right now, using that first cross conference event as sort of a litmus test, I think more cross region play right now is more one sided games, and that's just a bad broadcast. And really, being a good broadcast is the number one problem. As David's talking about, is like that's the number one problem we have right now, is being an engaging, interesting broadcast that people want to watch. And the impression I got was that LTA Seoul fans did not necessarily enjoy having 4 NA teams fly out and then beat their teams and then play out a mini playoffs in their studio. That's not a great thing to take a break from your split 4 either way. So it's a hard problem to solve.
Yeah, I don't envy the people trying to make it work. Put it that way. Right then, shall we move on? Let's move on to the LCK. And
Whoa.
so, what were our predictions last week? By the way, I'm pretty sure I think I said KT would beat T1 and then lose, and obviously I was, miles wrong there.
I think we all had HLE qualifying for sure.
Yeah, certainly wouldn't have expected a 3-0, and for Doran to like gap fucking Zeus as well. Like, what the hell happened?
I have a lot to say here, but like the whole thing for me started on the day between KT and T1 because I was fully watching that series, and there was like after the series ended, it was like maybe there's a chance tomorrow.
Same.
And then the next day, I'm like, okay, what's going on here? Because actually, I think it was like a kind of a dual effect. It's like I feel like HLE actually underperformed compared to expectations, and then T1 actually was really good from various perspectives aside from player performances itself. Like Doran playing well. I think that for once I gotta praise the coaching staff. Or like the teams actually made some very very smart drafting.
Yeah.
That actually allowed them to kind of gain edges that they shouldn't have gotten, I think. And I think it's a very, very positive sign for T1, although I still think that it's just 2 series. So I'm not sure whether what we're seeing right now will be what we will see heading into MSI. But that obviously gives, better hope for T1 fans and LCK as a region. But I think that the most aside from Doran actually is morphing on Zeus this time around, my attention goes to Keria, because we always knew how he has constantly been T1's playmaker throughout the past 2 years, and I feel like he was one of the two, so basically him and Doran, struggling the most in making stuff work over the past few months. And he actually was having an incredible series. Honestly, put out, like, give him those champions and he'll do stuff. And obviously, I mean, owner the usual. I honestly have a big love for this guy. I know I might be biased, I don't really care, but I still think honestly, it's just him and Canyon. Probably outfit Tarzan as well, but it's basically one of those three. And then Guma actually, like, stepping up. I just honestly not sure about their ceiling right now. Like, I think their floor has gotten better, which is what explains why they were able to beat KT and HLE. I just don't know where the ceiling is at, because you might say that what you saw against HLE might be the ceiling, but you can also say that T1 actually might have even more. And I think that goes mostly on Doran right now. It's like, if he steps up, like, it's like if Zeus was there, that's what you get most of the time. With Doran, you just get it, like, you just got it 2 days out of an entire half a season. So for you now, like, you gotta hope that Doran basically now becomes Zeus in that sense, in terms of how stable he can be and how reliable he can be up in the top lane. And if you get that, then T1 will be there at internationals fighting for titles.
Like, I think we can't talk about ceiling anymore with this team. Like, it's just like useless, They are just breaking it every time. I think this team really can do anything. Like, they can, like, completely flop, but they can at the same time, like, win GMSI. I wouldn't be surprised either way, which is kind of crazy. I'm not sure there's a lot of teams that can do that. But to go back on the series against HLE, I think I have to give you that, Davide. This time, Peanuts really let me down. Like,
I've been saying this for like 2 months already, and I feel like some of my takes actually are working out as I thought. So
I think, like, you got completely gapped this series. Like, he didn't do anything in early games. He was just, like, letting Honor get every resources, play for whichever side he felt was strong, while Peanut was just, I think he was kind of lost in those games. And it's something that when HLE don't perform, it's like comes like often to Peanut not performing, I feel like, which is to me starting to be kind of scary for the team and for him, for his career, because I think, given our, like, the ambitions of HLE and all those players they have, like, you can't have a jungler which when he's playing on his Z game will not perform at all. Well, I think players like Honor, they usually don't have Z game, but yeah, I feel like HLE, like, I think it's pretty clear that the fight will be between T1, GK, and maybe KT if they keep up that level for the third place at Worlds. But yeah, let's see that.
By the way, what genius decided to not have a champion of the LCK? What the fuck are they thinking with that? And I swear, like, with the LCK Cup, that also, like, they sort of want that to not count either. So if we had, like, no champion in the LCK yet this year.
I mean, they merged, like they unified the whole season, so there's only one champion. That's the end of the
So
year.
ridiculous.
Fortunately, I mean, the whole thing for me is like, honestly, I would be down to seeing Genji play T1, but at the same time, it's like I'm not, let's say, that sad that I don't get to see it. It's like, for me, as long as you get to see both teams compete internationally, I think that's the goal.
Mhm.
My my thing for me was like, there's gotta be a way to I don't know, like make the schedule a little bit different, probably, because I feel like they play like every separate week, and that kind of kills off the hype as usual. I can kind of understand that obviously had the whole thing in Busan, so obviously you need to set up, it's like a very logistically wise like consuming thing to do. But yeah, just like having breaks in between kind of kills off. I mean, you can also kind of see it in across other competitions as well, which then also explains why LTA North, for example, um, had the last final kind of, even though it was a great series, just like no one was paying attention to it because you it's not like VCT Toronto. You mean like you know what I mean? It's just like constantly getting matches and matches and matches, and I feel like they, like Riot has stated that they're trying to make Worlds weeks shorter, like the breaks in between. I think that should be technically done for playoffs as well. Or like probably just put them on a shorter like range of time, so make sure that you can get like more matches all the time.
Yeah. I just think like I just think it's so fundamentally stupid to have a competition that has no winner, because that's literally the point of sports and competitions.
It was actually so fun to see them like grab the tickets and just show it like it was a trophy.
It's
raising
so
it.
embarrassing. Like I
It
just
was-
can't.
Yeah.
I kind of can't get my head around it. Like I just don't know how somebody could have ever thought that this was just fine. Like it's so weird. I get like there could be limitations on venues and whatever. Then you just plan your format around that. You can't just be like, oh well, we've got this 2 days, and sorry, actually, because we already decided it on these broadcast days, it means we have no winner now. Like fuck
And
off. It's just,
I don't even
it's
feel
just
like
it's insane. Like
Yeah.
I can't believe it. I
don't
was
even
like,
feel-
stunned.
I don't even believe that it will, give more credit to the team that will raise the LCK at the end of the year,
Of course not.
which is
No,
kind of
I-
sad.
I think it's almost worse because like, hey, you have a winner. There's a first seed with an advantageous position at MSI. That's the winner. Just call them the winner. It's super simple. You have somebody who gets like the most advantage for performing the best. There's your winner. But yeah, I think it's almost worse because when I think of like the big upsets in like LTA, LEC, it's a team against the defending champions who are still on form, right? You're the defending champion. You won last split. Now you're the team to beat going in. There is no defending champion for LCK. So like, do we have to wait until the end of the year to get an LCA champion that we can be an underdog against?
And then all the
Does that
rosters
run
change,
all of
and
next
actually there's
year?
no continuity anyway.
Yeah. Does that run all of next year? What happens if rosters change? I think it is another odd naming convention by Riot that raises some eyebrows.
Literally,
Where
if
you
that
really could just call somebody the champion here.
if that if the Genji HLE match had just been, if they'd have just said the winner of this is the winner of the LCK, 0 people would have had a problem with that, except for like maybe the teams that couldn't qualify to that match. But you could just say, from like the previous part, we seed into this match that is for the champions, fine. And then yeah, it's just bizarre because one thing I feel like these last couple of years where we've had this like gradual shift to like the 3 split systems where like the LEC did it first, it looks like Riot kind of do things and then maybe do it in one region and use it to figure out what they do kind of broader. And I feel like one thing that was obvious in the LEC was when they did it, like the format of like of basically saying like the final champion was the LEC champion at the end of the year. Everyone thought that was shit. And even when you had the champions of the other splits, but they had a little shield, and it was and it wasn't really like they were champion, but still the final one was the biggest one,
Yeah.
and even that was a bit shit. So
Yeah,
do you
yeah.
not realize like the LCK, like we're in an arena. It's not even like the LEC ones where they're in the studio. So maybe it does feel a bit weird to make it the same level as the big one at the end. The LCK was in an arena. Just imagine having an arena finals.
And you
But
just
nobody
raising a ticket
wins.
like that.
Nobody wins it.
Just raising a ticket.
just Charlie Brown outside the chocolate
I mean,
shop.
the ticket was cool though. Like, I gotta say, praise to the designers for actually.
That could
putting
just be the
the-
trophy for the
Yeah.
winners. That could have been the trophy.
Yeah, fair.
And still call it Road to MSI, and you've won the Road to MSI.
Speaking of trophies, the LTA North one and the LPL one were really good.
Yeah.
They were
I didn't
good.
see
Spirit
the
Blossom one,
LPL.
yeah.
We don't get shield, like we get shields. You know, everyone else gets the nice things.
I'm glad
It
at least
just-
now it's the big trophy like for the other splits in the LEC now. At
Yeah.
least they're not doing the shield nonsense.
Yeah, I will say I'm a big fan. As we're talking about the 3-split format, well, I think there are problems for esports. I think Riot doing the there is a season in the client and there's a theme to it and there's skins and comics and mini games and that tying into the esports broadcast, one of the best decisions made this year. I think having LTA North has had Spirit Blossom champion cosplayers walking behind the players when they're playing on stage. I just think the new season format in terms of tying the game together a lot more, esports and non-esports aspects, I think has been fantastic. Big fan of that.
And I think GLPL is very good at that. Like you were talking about the trophy, I remember the trophy for the first split. It was like an axe, a Noxious axe, I think. Yeah, I feel like it's good to have that atmosphere from the game converging into esports.
Yeah, and a great transition, Ethan. Well done. Let's chat about
Look
the
at
LPL.
him. Look at him go.
Was my point.
Exactly. Yeah, anyone's legend have won it.
And
Thoughts?
they deserve it. They deserve
Tabe
it.
is my goat, literally. I think my hot take, I don't know if you want to call it a hot take at this point. I honestly think he's the #1 coach in the world right now.
Okay, I thought you were gonna say history. I'm not sure about that.
No, history, not. I mean,
Not yet.
like
Coma is looking up to him.
Coma has
no,
too
it's
many
Faker,
titles.
Coma
on
won
his,
last year, guys.
Yeah, Coma has
won
too many
last year.
titles on his head, unfortunately.
No, Faker, the
Like,
GOAT coach. I think.
Honestly, I could say Tabe has been the best for the last probably 2 years. I wouldn't say the third one. I wouldn't say 2023. But I consider him the best right now.
And also because he didn't have the best team on papers, at all.
I mean, that's the whole thing. The one thing I've been actually quite advocate on is I mean, and that's also a big trend right now from basically all teams. People have realized that you don't have to have Cristiano Ronaldo on every role.
Vitality realized that.
Yeah, team vitality moment.
Took them a few goes, but they did.
You don't need to have everyone, or the super guys, on across every role, unless you're in the LCK probably. but that's you have really good. I feel like Tabe constructed this roster really well with a clear idea on who he wanted, and what kind of players were to get in order to make sure that this thing worked. And I think, honestly, the fact I also said it last time, the fact that he played professionally in the past really helps out when doing this kind of roster building process. And I mean, the players, honestly, aside from Tarzan, and probably Shanks, I feel like Shanks has been criminally underrated.
Yep. Agreed.
Hope kind of as well, but I think Hope has had
Ups
a
and
little
downs.
bit has had a few highs and lows over the past few years. But the whole thing is none of these players stand out to you if you look at it. Not even Tarzan, honestly, considering how he performed a few times back in the LPL over the past few years. I just think that the whole team is just very solid with a clear idea. They're capable of playing anything to a really high level. I doubt it's the highest level, but you just can see it has a really high floor. And Fearless Draft has been helping out. I think it's for example, if I think BLG can reach on certain team comps certain matches this level of play, AL might be a little bit lower, but is more consistent across the board. So they'll always, or like most of the time, come out victorious because like BLG goes up and down, they just go flat. And I think just honestly, result based analysis in that sense. Like AL has been the most consistent team in the LPL this season so far. So
And yeah, there we go.
no, I mean, like the whole thing is just. I'm really surprised. I'm really happy for the players. I'm really happy for Tabi because he's proved himself once again, and definitely better hopes for the LPL. Hopefully this MSI, but I mean, we'll talk it in the next week. I would assume.
I'm incredibly excited to see Shanks at an international. I'm really excited to see that dude on stage because he's a little pit bull. That dude sometimes does not like having enemy champions in his lane, and it is a lot of fun to watch.
Yep.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I feel like we have to highlight that this is the first title of Tarzan in his entire career, and that's actually crazy to say because the guy has been, I don't know, I think it was his 7th final, which is kind of crazy to be honest. Like 7th final, and this is the first one he won. But actually, I'm so like happy for him because like he won it with such a fashion. Like, did you see that last game on Z where he was just flexing mechanics on Bilibili? And actually, I'm also happy because I saw Tabe was like very happy for him. Like he was going a lot about it. Like he was talking a lot about him in interview. You saw him directly go to him when they raised the trophy and everything. And I'm also happy for Kyle because I think like this guy is the like uncontested best support in GLPL right now. And yeah, I feel like both deserved it, and I'm happy they got it. And also, yeah, as you said, I'm so hyped about seeing Shanks in an international. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun, especially as you will be up against like players like Shovi, and yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Mid lane pool is stacked at this MSI.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the mid 1v1s are going to be nuts.
True.
We're sending Quad. There's JoJo. I mean, everybody else. Yeah, it's gonna be crazy.
Forgot caps out of nowhere.
Don't talk about caps. But yeah, it's gonna be crazy, and also because I feel like Shanks, like he has been better than Knight in all those finals, but I feel like Knight has been better overall during the splits, and it's gonna be fun to see like how the ranking plays out because I feel like Knight has a higher floor, but will Shanks live up to the expectations and really like raise his game like he did against Knight every time you face him against players like Shovi or Faker? I think there's gonna be a lot of narratives that gonna be fun to see.
Shall we move on then to the breaking news, Davide, if you're up for revealing it? I haven't actually seen the details of it. I just saw your headline you're working on, being nosy.
Yeah. I mean, so basically, I mean, this will be out obviously after
When it's allowed to be out.
when it's already announced. So basically where the EMEA final will have its own game changers competition, the official one. Luckily, it's been quite a while. I think it has been due time in that sense. There aren't like a lot of details currently. We just know that it's going to be starting sometime in August, and then with the grand finals in Paris, Paris Games Week, which is at the end of October. There will be 8 teams, 3 invited orgs with like 3 invited teams that have affiliation with LEC teams, and it's not confirmed, but honestly, the only 3 teams I know so far that have female rosters are G2, SK, and then Vitality, because Medline is Koi, and then Team BDS last year disbanded.
Yeah.
So it should be them, and then they said it's going to be the top 3 teams from the the EEC, which is
Equal Esports Cup, yeah.
Equal Esports Cup, yeah. Which takes place, I think, it's currently taking place, and will end basically before the start of the LGC Rising. And yeah, I mean, great to see. I think it's it's obviously good because we obviously started seeing G2 Hell doing really good in the tier 2 season, like tier 2 scene. They moved up literally last split. And I think obviously it's good to have representation from the female side. I just gotta hope, honestly, that we will get not only female focused competitions. I kind of want to see more of it, and just like Valorant is doing with the game changer scene, where I mean, aside from the whole thing that happened, everyone knows, we get to see like players actually play against the top teams. Honestly, like I would be down to see like a show match or something of that kind, like the year-end events, like the Red Bull one, the Red Bull League of its own. It's like the other kind of fun events in that sense. It would be really cool, and I think it would be a great opportunity to showcase for the org in that sense, in terms of what they're trying to accomplish with the female team, and also for the fans that get to see what players can be like in the women's scene.
There
And I
was.
also no, go.
I was gonna say there was some event. I can't remember if it was League or Valorant. I guess it must have been Valorant. And I didn't look into it that deeply, hence why I can't remember it properly. But there was an event like within the last year where it was like mixed teams, and it was like a like kind
Yeah,
of
it
like
was
for
Spike
fun.
Nations, I think. I actually, because I was working with Novo at the time, and we basically fielded a team with um like 2 female players and then 3 guys, I think. And we basically had them go then against other nations with that had like mixed teams. So I think these kind of like uh fun competitions is good to like kind of like break away from the comp scene, like competitive scene, but also kind of like try to build a reputation for themselves. Because I don't really, I kind of want to see mixed like both genders
The idea
competing in
is
the
yeah, the
same
idea
scene.
is that you'd see it fully
Yeah,
like that. It's just normal for it to be mixed at
yeah.
like the
So
elite level, isn't it? But
the
um, yeah, it's
yeah, the
good to
whole
like
thing is like,
have that
sorry.
space to get started and like grow.
Mm.
Like obviously Fluorescent did. Obviously, it's a shame what's happened eventually, but the fact of like the progression path in Valorant has worked. It's got a player in there, and she was doing fine before obviously everything happened. But it's crazy. It kind of feels weird it took so long. It's like because the Valorant one is like so kind of robust now. Like you've got. I know like a lot of it will be just like semi-pro and amateur, but the fact is that there are like leagues in all the different regions. They feed into the big championships at the end of the year, and the championships are pretty big as well. Like the season-ending one. So yeah, it's good that it's kind of finally come in, even if it is just kind of like dipping their toes into it a bit. And that, I wouldn't be surprised if like bloody like political scenarios like play a part in being more apprehensive around it, even like the current state of the world. So it's nice to see that they're still sort of going ahead with something, and yeah, long time
And I think
coming, I think.
and I think a lot of responsibility will go to the orgs that have the most hype around them. I think they have to enter that scene. There's not much like there's only G2, I think, that is really hyped internationally. That is in the female scene right now. But I think like if KC join, if MCOY join, it can really like bring the hype up. And I think it's something they need, the scene needs. So I hope they will enter the scene and that they will not let let them down.
Yeah, no, it's really exciting news. As everybody has said, it does feel like maybe a little bit too long of a time coming. In terms of like this could have been done a lot earlier, but I mean, when it comes to esports and pro play, rising tide raises all ships. The more people we have playing and competing and enjoying the game and talking about it, and just engaging with the game that we love, that's a huge positive. We're talking about like not enough people are interested, not enough people are watching LCS. And if we're being realistic about it, like esports and gaming is a space where women have and continue to feel incredibly alienated. And so the more that we can do with official infrastructure to welcome half of the population to playing this awesome game and just making them feel more welcome, making them feel like there's an apparatus there for them to pursue those same competitive goals, I think that's just a huge win for the scene. So super psyched.
Yeah, I mean, you said earlier like a couple of points for the old head League of Legends fans. Respect and respect to the late Remelia, way back in the day. I don't know if you guys were following back then, but yeah, Renegade.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Renegades.
I mean, yeah, it's crazy, and it's mad that it's been so long without there being another woman at that level. I think we've got about 5 minutes before our Google Meets time runs out. Who's got a hot take to finish on about any of the stuff or anything we didn't talk about?
Okay, I have one. I think T1 will win MSI. I think that's a hot take given the season, but I honestly think like given how they played, like I don't see them drop down because the meta will not change that much for MSI, so I can see them win it. I think like I don't really agree with what you said, Davide, that the final was not really needed between Genji and T1. Like it was fine to not see it. I was like very very down to see it. Like T1 in that form against Genji that just like exploded the league. I wanted to see what how it would go out. But yeah, I'm very excited because I think T1 can take it if they play at that level, if they play with that cohesion they have as a team. So yeah, what are your thoughts, guys?
I would say pause it and save the full explanation for next week when we're going through the actual teams.
Yeah. Let's pause
I
it.
have one.
Next time on Hot Take.
I have my hot take, even though it will probably kind of go against my rankings. It's kind of a hot take and a wish. I kind of want AL to win MSI. And I think honestly, like it's all, a hot take would be like they win everything. I think I wouldn't be surprised if they make it into the final.
Yeah, same. But I and honestly, like LPL is always fine at MSI, right?
Yeah,
like,
I was going to say you're going out on a limb there, Davide. The LPL winner might get to the final MSI. Bloody hell, you're crazy, man.
I mean, like considering how top esports performed that first time, it's kind of a
doesn't bode well.
It's like enough. So
No, understand.
Let me think. I guess my hot take would be that all these EU players, all these Korean players, you're not ready for Canada. When you have to trek to the arena through like 6-foot-high snowdrifts, getting attacked by wild beavers, you don't even know how to take care of a house hippo. You don't know what it means to hit Timmy's for a double run. Like they're not prepared. You talk about jet lag, Canuck lag is going to get them. That is my hot take. When they're sleeping in igloos and talking to the moose god, we'll see how well they can play on stage.
Well, have we got LEC? Are there any players from like Northern Europe that we've got qualified?
Northern Europe?
Canada's a whole different thing. Only Masu's got the turf advantage.
Do you consider Denmark as Northern Europe?
Yeah, like Scandinavia. Yeah,
Caps.
Caps. Yeah, he must know a bit of cold. We'll see. Well, anyway, that's about all we've got time for then. So, as always, thanks Davide and Ethan for joining. Thanks very much, Nick, for dropping in. Thanks for watching, everybody. And
thank you.
We'll see you next week.
MSI Power Rankings.
See you there.
Stay tuned.